We told you the other day that the Crown has decided not to appeal the case of Ian Thomson, and he's been able to get his guns back. Ian dropped by our Toronto studios and had a chat with reporter Faith Goldie. Here it is.
I want you to take us back to that August 22nd of 2010. What happened?
About 6:30 in the morning, I was awoken by a loud bang outside my bedroom window, and I looked up and I could see some flames. It turned out to be 3 arsonists firebombing my house with me trapped inside. So I didn't have much of an opportunity or a choice to call the police or anything, so I had to react and defended my life with a handgun, and I was charged.
So what exactly were the charges that were laid against you, and then what was your reaction to them?
I was initially charged with careless use and pointing, which I wasn't surprised about. I mean, it's typical in Canada that whenever a civilian uses a gun, they're going to be charged. At a later date, I was told that the charges were to be dropped, but instead the Crown added additional charges of careless storage.
How would he have known whether or not you were storing it carefully?
It was a supposition on his part. They were specious charges.
Wow. Okay, now I understand that you have quite the legal ledger in front of you. Would you mind sharing with our audience what the amount owing is for you and what kind of burden that is, knowing that you have to tackle that bill?
At last count, I believe it was somewhere between 20 and 30,000 left. The bill climbed up to about 60,000, and it's my belief that the state or the Crown does this in order to punish citizens of this country for defending themselves.
Now, you mentioned the fact that this was not wholly unexpected on your part, that this is what the Crown does. Someone uses a handgun, he or she is going to be charged. Where does that leave you? It's been a 2-year battle now, almost 2 years. Where does that leave you and your relationship with our justice system? Law and disorder, law and order? What do you make of the Canadian justice system after being through what you've been through?
It's an atrocious representation of freedoms for Canadians. I should never have been charged in the first place, and I believe that the history that I have with my neighbor, that the Crown and the government is responsible under the doctrine of avoidable consequences. They had many an opportunity to prevent this type of thing from happening, and they chose to ignore it.
So I understand that this story is not exactly over, that you still are pestered by your neighbors in more ways than one. You've shown me pictures of notable bruises on your legs. If you could actually let me know, first of all, how did you acquire those bruises? But really what I want to get into is, let's say you're being firebombed again tomorrow. Same guys, same situation. Would you do it again, having been through what you've been through?
That's hard to give you a direct answer because every circumstance is different and you're going to react differently to every given case. I know that based on the response time of our local constabulary, that's atrocious as well. I can't rely on the police to be there, so you have to deal with each case on an individual basis.
So if your own personal experience, know-how, lets you know that you can't rely on the police, and the Crown's telling you that, you can't really rely on yourself, is there any other option out there?
You can die.
Now, what has been the reaction around you? I want to know about, have folks been reaching out to perhaps assist you in your legal bills, or just the reaction of you being this lone citizen who is faced with such a crisis and then taking on the legal system? What's the reaction been towards you?
The public has been tremendously supportive. I mean, I am so grateful to everyone for the donations and the well wishes that I get from them. Mr. Burlew has been very good in dealing with my case and with the financial end of it as well, but public support has been tremendous. It's somewhere around 97% agree with my actions.
I've read the blog posts about you. I've read the comments section. Your videos are consistently one of the top ones on our site. A lot of folks call you a hero. What's your reaction to that? I'm
just a regular guy. I'm no hero. I don't consider myself a brave man, but I'm no cast for milquetoast either. So you deal with what you have to deal with.
Thank you very much.
Lauren Gunter has followed the Ian Thomson case from the beginning, joins us now from Edmonton. Lauren, I was speaking with Solomon Friedman the other day, another lawyer that specializes in firearms, and he said, good day that he got his guns back, but this just never should have happened. You?
No, absolutely. It should never have happened. I mean, this is as clear a case of self-defense as I've seen in years and years of covering these. I mean, here's a man who woke up, as he said, early one August morning in 2010 to find people throwing Molotov cocktails at his house and yelling death threats. And so he got two pistols that he had legally registered, locked away in his vault, got them out, took them out, loaded them, and fired warning shots over the heads of these people. I mean, I'm not sure most people would have, if they'd had guns handy, would have had the good sense to fire warning shots over their heads. They might have fired right at them. He chased them off. Because he had security cameras around his property due to this ongoing property dispute he was having with a neighbor, he had video of all of this. He took the tapes, showed them to the police, and the police decided that he was the one who should be charged. And they eventually charged the three people who were lobbing Molotov cocktails and the fourth person who was involved in the conspiracy. But for a long time, Thomson was the only one charged, and as it turns out, he was the one who spent the longest time in court trying to clear his name. It's just appalling that this ever happened to Ian Thomson.
I got an email from Ian saying, yeah, I got my guns back, Brian, but here's the hoops I had to go through. I had to get an authorization to transport from the chief firearms officer to go get my guns that the cops seized from me. There's rust on them. There was a screw missing. They didn't give me back my ammunition. They took other things from me and didn't give it back. I mean, that part is shocking to me. I shouldn't be, but that still shocks me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the police take property from you during the time that you're being tried, the presumption of innocence has to be paramount. So they have a responsibility to protect that property in the state in which they seized it. So, you know, Thomson was well known during this time as being a person who took very good care of his firearm. He's a former firearms instructor. He's not some wingnut. I mean, this is a guy who's retired to rural Ontario for a nicer, quieter lifestyle, which didn't turn out to be the case in his case. But here's a guy who did everything he could. The police took his property and returned it to him in dismal condition. When they took it, it was in pristine condition. So he should be able to sue the government for that. Now, you know, unless you could prove that he was actually the target of a malicious prosecution, where, you know, we've talked about this before, that the process is the punishment. He alluded to it in his interview, that the Crown didn't think they could win a case against him, so they dragged this out as long as they could to get him to incur $60,000 in personal costs. That was their way of punishing him. That's obnoxious. If he could prove that, he should be able to sue the government. But even if he can't prove that, he should be able to sue them for the deterioration in the condition of the property they seized from him while he was still presumed innocent. You know, there are lots of people who get arrested who are awful people, and we think, oh yeah, well, they're guilty for sure. That's immaterial too. During the time you are under trial and leading up to your trial, you're supposed to be presumed innocent. So if the government has seized something from you, they have an obligation to return it in that condition.
Lauren, we'll have to wrap it there, but you and I, I'm sure, will be talking about these issues again soon.
No doubt, unfortunately so.
Unfortunately, yeah. Do check out liliespad.ca. You can find more videos on self-defense on these issues. And of course, if you want to donate to Ian's Defense Fund, just scroll through. It might take you a page or two, but you'll find the link on that. More to come.